Welcome to the Coach V Show, where tonight we are featuring Uso Rob Poleki, who will be talking about his voyage from New Zealand to Hawaii, and then coming to college at Idaho State, and then from there getting married and going on this journey of his toilet seat. The CEO and co-founder of Washie, Rob Poleki. Until then, tune in, stay tuned because it is on tonight. Get a notebook ready too, because you're going to want to take some notes on this. And now a word from our sponsor.
This year, as we gather for the holidays, it's important to keep our ohana safe and sound.
Vaccines have been approved for kids like us, ages 5 to 11.
Now we can join our older siblings, family, and friends in being safer.
Stay safe and enjoy the holidays by washing our hands, wearing our masks, and of course, get back!
Welcome to the Coach V Show, your Hollywood radio station for personal development with expert insights and interviews to help you, me, and we work to be our best and live our best life, offering for your consideration success frameworks, life lessons, and behavioral models. Should you find that it is appropriate to help elevate you to your next level of success and life fulfillment, that you deploy it generously all over what it is that you do. Today, the Coach V Show is blessed and honored to have Mr. Robert Poleki on the Coach V Show. Prior to becoming an entrepreneur, Rob and I were both in Idaho, and he was an elected official in Bannock County, Idaho. Rob has worked in the government sector for over a decade, primarily as an elected official and in social services. Rob decided to take a leap of faith with a toilet seat idea he had while taking his 4-year-old son to a public restroom. After filing for a patent in 2015, a patent was issued by the U.S. Patent Office in 2018. Rob decided to let go of what he was doing in his job as an elected official to begin his entrepreneurial journey with his new company, Washie. Washie sells and creates innovative products for public restrooms with their feature product, the Washie Toilet Seat. Mr. Robert Poleki, welcome to the Coach Me Show.
Hey, Coach, thanks for having me on the show. Excited to be on the show, and I appreciate you bringing us on and telling my story.
I really appreciate that. What is the genesis point for your story and where you started? Where were you born? Where did you start off? What neighborhood did you grow up in? Who are your parents? Start with that. What's your genesis point, Rob?
Yeah, so, when people ask me that, I have been all over the place. I was born and raised in Manurewa, New Zealand, South Auckland. And
okay.
I was there till I was 12, played rugby league, played with a lot of professional athletes that later, when they grew up, became rugby and rugby league stars. So I grew up in Manurewa, and my parents decided to get us out of New Zealand, to bring us to the States to live the American dream, just like a lot of parents do in the South Pacific. And it was tough. They saved a lot of money for us to get our green cards, to jump over flights. And my grandma, my aunts in Hawaii, they did the same, sending money over. They made a lot of sacrifices and the ultimate leap of faith to bring a family of 5 to the United States. And you know what? I appreciate my parents for doing that for us, because I don't know how my life would have ended up if I stayed in New Zealand. So moved to Hawaii when I was 12 years old. We started out in KPT, Kuhio Park Terrace. I know a lot of Polynesians know that place. And and we stayed in a little 3-bedroom apartment with my grandma, my aunts, my cousins. There was about 18 of us in this little 3-bedroom apartment, and that's where the grind started, my friend. That's when my dad and my mom were like, we need to get out of here and get our own home, and that's when the grind started of becoming an entrepreneur, going door to door, selling stuff, going, finding odd jobs on the weekends. My dad was always working and trying to get us out of there. And he did, they were very successful at that. So spent, my teens in Hawaii. And then I was fortunate enough to learn how to play football. At 9th grade was my first time ever playing football. Okay. And they said, "Hey, Rob, let's try for the football team." So, I was like, "Hey, give me the ball. I can run the ball. I'm 6'2", 270. And they're like, "No, you're going to block." Like, I can run the ball. So, you played the offense, defensive lineman, and, I did okay. And that's where, I've heard a lot of your podcast and Small World, right? Coach Uparesa, out of Snow College, goes to Idaho State and picks me up.
So shout out Coach Oops. Yeah, Coach shout out Oops.
Time, gave me a chance. I didn't play a lot of football my senior year, got in a little trouble, got hurt, whatever happened. And they gave me this last chance scholarship and I took it. It's like, I've never been a Pocatello ever in my life, but I'm gonna go. So made the leap over to Idaho, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I started my career there, graduated from Idaho State University with a social work degree, met my wife there. And, after football life, became one that wanted to serve my community. As the community has served me in Hawaii, in New Zealand, all Polynesians, I think, want to serve their community. And obviously that's a social work route. And I did that in Idaho. And then I became an elected official. It's a funny thing, Senator Edgar Malepeai was living in the same county as I. And he was a mentor for me. When he left Idaho, I became, the next elected official in our county. And it was tough. I was the youngest. I was the only brown elected official.
Right.
Out of, the county elected officials, the hundreds of county elected officials. I was the only brown guy there. I was only one, not even just the only brown guy, right? And that led to a lot of inner self development for me to stand up and do what's right, to stand up and represent, even though I was the youngest, even though I was the only minority there. It did a lot for me personally, professionally, and I was an elected official for a term and a half. And that's where my entrepreneurial journey begins. So I don't know if I went too far or not.
No, this is great.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm just a co-pilot here. It's your show. We're featuring Mr. Robert Poleki, man, and we're just appreciative that you would give us the time just to really share your experiences. Let's go back, because even if you're not from KPT, I mean, I'm from Pomona, and I've heard of KPT, right? Talk about junior high school. Let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about junior high school. I mean, what a shock coming from South Auckland to the 808, right? And then not just the 808, but particularly that part of the Honolulu area, right?
Yep.
And then how the culture clashed there. Let's start with like the junior high elementary, 12 years old, probably 7th grade-ish, 8th, right? Yep. So how was that like? Where did you go to junior high? And then we'll bridge that to high school.
Yeah, so I went to junior high at Alia Manu Intermediate. That's in Salt Lake, Hawaii. I grew up in Kalihi Valley, area. So my grandma lived in KPT, and we were there almost every day. Or, my mom looked after my grandma, so she was there every day. Then my mom became an exercise director for the elderly in KPT. So the community center, she would run the exercise program there. And so every weekend or every day we would be there, But coming from New Zealand to KPT, I thought Hawaii, oh, we're going to Hawaii, beaches, and they're beautiful. And we end up in Kaliki. It's not the greatest, But you know what? The family life, the home life was good. The family life and home life for us, I was so lucky to be raised by two parents. I was so lucky to be raised by my extended family. When my parents weren't there, my grandma was always there. My aunts were always there to take care of us as kids and kind of guide us, make sure that we didn't get in trouble. So yeah, I went to Aliamanu Intermediate in Salt Lake City, and then I went to Radford High School.
Oh, Radford.
Yeah, Radford Rams. I started out at Radford Rams with Coach Kelly Sir, big influence on my life. And then halfway through, I went to McKinley High School with Coach David Tanavasa. It was like the late 90s. 1999 is when I graduated. But yeah, man, those days were tough because we grew up from humble beginnings. We didn't have a lot of money, but my parents gave me the tools that I needed to survive, the tools that I needed to become successful, to make sure that I was a good kid, not getting into the biggest trouble. There was always trouble, but not as much as other kids. But yeah, I was lucky. I was really lucky to have my parents involved in my life. So
yeah, shout out McKinley High, shout out Radford. And really, I talk about this a lot, Rob, in terms of, I really don't know exactly what the American dream is, but I just really been blessed that the American dream has made me, for both of us that are immigrants, that is from a foreign land, that come here. And I really don't self-define myself as a Tongan American. I really do self-define myself as an American that comes from the island of Tonga, right? Yeah. There's a clear distinction between that, because I really feel like to do anything otherwise would really bite the hand that's fed me and made me, because there's no other place in the world that a guy could be who it is that I am, where English is my second language, and now I get paid a crazy amount of money to speak English, right? Yeah. Every single day in what I do. What about your American dream? And how would you categorize? I mean, we're going to get to where you are, and this is just the beginning for you. As I coach a lot of entrepreneurs and see what you're able to splash, do, make an impact, make money, create a team. I've been watching that from afar. We'll get to that. But just initially, did you think of it like, oh man, I got a chance to do the American dream? Or in hindsight, how would you characterize that, Kaliti experience, Radford High School, McKinley High School, football, in terms of now obtaining, securing, and now making the American dream that you want? Does that make sense in my question?
No, it does make sense. Right? It does make sense, Coach. So, when I was 12 years old and we landed in Honolulu Airport, and we saw, the big lights, the big going through, and then seeing parts of Hawaii, I knew these people were millionaires or billionaires. Seeing that, it's like, as a kid, I was like, one day I'm gonna have that. One day I can get that. I can get that. Coming to this country, you have all the opportunity. If you want that money, if you want something, you need to go get it. Right? You need to. It's not going to fall in your lap. You're gonna have to go get it yourself. So throughout my life, I've taken that with me everywhere I've gone. Getting a scholarship, right? I need to get that. I was always competing for something. When we got to college, always trying to compete to gain a position, to start, in football. After college, graduating, trying to get that job, trying to become elected. There was always that mentality of, like, I could see something right in front of me. I'm going to go get that. Right. And it's been that way for my journey as an entrepreneur, especially when I was an elected official. I started with the county job, and I was just, one of the, a scrub in the county, and then I said, my boss's job, I can do that. One day, whatever happens to her, I'm going to take her job. So what happened 3 years later? It happened. Then my boss's job. Then again, the elected official was my boss. And it's like, you know what? When he retires, I can do that job. Then it happened, right? 2 years later, he retired, and I took his position. And it's been that way ever since. Now I see startup companies. Now I see CEOs in my shoes. I'm like, I can get that. I'm gonna get there in a year or two, and it's happened. So that mindset from when I landed in Hawaii has it's taken me places. Seeing the bright lights, it's taken me places because I always wanted what somebody else had. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. So now bridge us and transition us from college, and let's dip in that pool real quick. Idaho State, how was that experience from coming from the 808 to the I mean, Poleki is just another area, right? And you and I know Idaho are different regions. There's really the Treasure Valley, which is the Eagle, Meridian, Boise, right?
Yeah.
Then there's up north where the Quarter Lane area probably is what we're known for, as well as Twin Falls. And then there's Pocatello that's now boomed. I just drove through there going to Yellowstone, right? It's a freaking amazing suburbs and neighborhoods popping up all over the place. How was that? Because you went from New Zealand to the 808, and then from the 808 to freaking Pocatello. What a culture class. How was that? And what were the life experiences that you could draw on to help people that, man, not just talk about out of your comfort zone mentally or what your goals are, but geographically, man, it's like being on another world, is it not? And what are your thoughts on that, Rob?
Yeah. So, Coach Oops went and recruited about 12 of us boys from Hawaii. Right? And so all of a sudden in 1999, Pocatello had a group of Samoan kids running around the streets, right? And so, Pocatello, a very small town, about 60,000 people in the town. The county has about 90,000 people. So small, very small Idaho rural town. But you know what was the best thing for us? Because we weren't in the big city getting in trouble. We weren't, it was such a small town. We only had certain things to do. There was only certain things to do in the town, so we couldn't get in trouble. But gaining those experiences with the teammates, with my Polynesian, teammates, with lifelong friends now, the coaching staff that coached us at Idaho State, you can see that they're at D1 coaching positions now. James Franklin, Johnny Hansen, Banks, that's out of Texas, used to be at Alabama. All these coaches, Oops and them brought them in. And we're coaching us. So we had like level 1, D1 coaching. And we, in 2002, we won the Big Sky. 2003, we were 8-4 and we were competing. And that's the best Idaho State had done since the early 80s.
Right.
So we were on fire. I mean, I think we came down to Boise State in 2002 and you guys just worked us, man, sussed at us. But other than, with our level of play with the Montanas and, with Sacramento State and all these, we were okay. We did well. We had some guys that were drafted. Jared Allen was a part of our squad. He's probably the big name for us. But you know what? The best thing that happened, I got to play football. I did a little arena ball after that. But I met my wife. There. My wife was a Bengal dancer. I was the football player. So we had that cheerleader football dynamic. And then, I've stayed with my wife since college. It's been about 20 years. We have 4 kids now. Nice. So the best thing that ever happened to me was I'm meeting my wife in college. Yeah. But the takeaway for me in Idaho, it really laid the foundation for the person I became. I had to grow up there. I had to really become an adult, live on
Mm,
my own. Like when I got there at 18, I knew no one. I knew no one. I met the boys there, but we were all on our own for the first time.
yeah,
So we became adults there. We had to make some decisions. I didn't make the best decisions all the time, but we made some decisions that led us to where we're now.
no,
So
that's
love
all.
Pocatello, what it's done for me. Small town, but there's a lot of successful people that came out of that town.
That's awesome. So I often talk about, where there's choices have consequences and decisions determine destiny. I believe the number one personal and business choice I ever made uh, was marrying my wife, right?
Yeah.
And you just alluded to that too. How important is that? I mean, in the streets, they call it ride or die. And I'm just like, man, ride or die is just the same thing as in sickness and or in health till death do us apart. I mean, that's what that is.
Yeah.
You can twist it all you want, but if you don't have that person, that is your person.
Yeah.
Like my wife is my person. I got homies, I got people that I shoot with and go snowboard and golf with and all that, but she's like my person, right? And there's no way that my ghetto ass with my Ebonics speaking when I first met her could become who I've become without a partner like that in life. What about you? What are the life
Yeah.
lessons there? Come on,
I
Rob.
mean, she's really the person that taught me actually how to love someone, right?
Say
I
that
grew
again,
up.
Rob. Say that again. Say that
Yeah.
again.
She actually taught me how to love someone, right? When I grew up, and especially with Polynesians, there's
Mm,
no really saying I love you,
right.
like hardly ever, or come here, hug. Do you need a hug? No, I don't need a hug.
Yeah, yeah.
She taught me emotions to walk through my emotions, to stop being like the angry Polynesian guy. She taught me how to relax and open up. But not only that, American ways. We
Right.
are Polynesian, and
Right.
I did not know a lot of these American traditions or American ways or how to do things. Because I never had experienced these things, and my wife did. So she taught me actually how, Rob, this is how it goes. This is what you're supposed to
Right,
do.
right, 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 right.
Like Christmas, Thanksgiving, all these things. My wife is, women love to spend money, but I really ever didn't get Christmas presents. And so my kids, I'm like, just give them one present. Or well, we're spending too much. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
now opening that up to like, listen, these are our kids, and it's just because I went through that as a kid because we were raised in humble beginnings, doesn't
Yes,
mean my kids have to be that strict, have to be that way.
right.
So opening that up, opening the emotions up is what my wife has really given me those characteristics as an adult. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's so ironic, right? Where we saw the dynamic of our parents, which we kind of model and took that as the standard, right? And Polynesian upbringing, where being hypercritical, screaming at you, hitting you because you've done something wrong will stop you from doing that again, right?
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong, Rob?
Yeah, you're
Right,
100%.
right. And then so like then you and I meet, American grown girls, and their perspective is very different. Taking vacations is different. Celebrating your birthday the whole month. I was like, what? Wait, more than one Christmas gift? Why do
Yeah,
why do we need more than one Christmas gift, right?
yeah,
And then like the whole Christmas tree, when we started to make it, started to get to a certain level of success in terms of just what our salaries were. It was like just the four of us, the whole tree was, and that's something that's such a mindset shift, an emotional shift, changing how you say things, right? The level of anger, it's like, man, uncle cares about me. That's why he hit me, right? Now it's like, no, you got to learn from that and not using a threat or fear to make you now be compliant.
Yeah.
But because daddy and mommy love me so much, I cannot take advantage or granted for that. Come on, Rob. What's your
No,
thoughts on that?
it is so right. And especially, I know you have a lot of Polynesians listeners.
Mm-hmm.
The way of the past has been the past because they grew up that way. We should take a lot of the past with us. But
Mm-hmm.
now that
Mm-hmm.
we're being raised in America, there's a new culture, right? We're still Polynesian, but there's a new culture here, and yelling or, when I got hurt as a kid, if I fell, I would get whacked because I just fell down and got hurt.
Right.
When I was a kid, and like doing that today it just doesn't make sense in your mind emotionally especially for a kid. Emotionally, what are you telling your kid if he's hurt and you're going to whack him? It doesn't make sense. I know I'm laughing now, and that's how we kind of hide the seriousness of it.
Right. Real talk.
But it is a thing, of the past. Now we're growing up and we know what's right, what's wrong. And I still make mistakes. I'm not perfect, but learning those things, has made me grow up, has made my emotional intelligence, right, get to the next level. When those types of things, especially in business, and you getting the no in business, when you get rejected and you try to make a sale and it's a no, that emotional intelligence has to be at a level where you can brush that off. It goes along with how we were raised. That emotional intelligence of getting beat down because of something and staying in that mindset is something that I hope that as Polynesians we can move past, that we can get over and start teaching our kids differently. Teach them the culture, but some of the things in the culture should be left in the past.
Oh yeah, there's definitely an expiration date to some of our ways, and they had so much form and function and value in the past. But especially with kids these days, especially with the amount of suicide that's happened within our culture and within society in general, let alone the Polynesian kids, and how we define success and how we react. It's interesting, right? What I've gotten my awareness to and how I coach, it's the reaction of fight or flight and fear and anger and frustration is very human. But you could tell people that are highly aware when their response is still according to success and life fulfillment. Come on, Rob.
I got you.
Because people are like, no, you shouldn't fear. You shouldn't get angry. You shouldn't. No. As a success coach and a life coach to my billionaire, millionaire, Fortune 1,500 and 100 clients, right, and companies, no, they feel a great relief that I'm like, you can be human. You can react like that. That's being human. Being angry or frustrated or pissed off because somebody did something wrong to you, that's being human. Now, being successful demands now that you respond according to what you should do next for your success and life fulfillment, not just achievement and money. That's the success part, but your ability to translate those experiences and how you respond in the joy, peace, happiness, fulfillment, love, and family time. So in that, anything else before we move on? And just in terms of, right, because we're talking about if there's 5 things you want to impact in terms of your family and the people your clients and the people on your team that serve your clients, is how they think, mindset, how they feel, emotional intelligence, what they do, daily behaviors and daily habits, how they see things, vision, positivity, and great attitude. And then lastly is how they communicate or effectively communicate, or how they say things, right, Rob? Like if we're not functioning within those 5 realms as a culture, as a business, an individual, in our marriage, how we raise kids, how we do community, you're missing it. Come on, Rob. Real talk or not?
No, real talk, especially how we were raised in the football life.
Yeah.
Football life and our culture, they go hand in hand. They are the same thing because we're barbaric, like we're out there savages on the field. And after that life, if you haven't dropped that if somebody comes up to you and wants to fight you and you can't just step back and walk away, that emotional intelligence, or if you can't change those emotions or change the way you feel about things, it goes with business. It goes along with raising your family. So 100% love that. 100%
Yeah,
love
because if you don't respond accordingly, you minimize your future opportunity, right? And you minimize future opportunities, right? And you miss on maximizing either the negative to be better and progress forward, or the positives to maximize that to its full potential. That's just what I think. Am I close there in terms of
No,
what
you're
you
good.
experienced?
I love it, man. I 100% agree with it. Love it.
Yep. Okay. So now you're like the lone brown guy, not even the Lone Ranger, right? You're the lone brown guy in Idaho government. And you go to this public restroom, you have this epiphany, or you describe how that turned out, please, Rob.
Okay, so midway through the term, I'm always a guy with I'm just a creative guy, and anything I see that needs to be fixed, I just write down ideas on things that I know how to fix, things that should be better, things that, or a creative idea. I have a list and lists and pages of ideas. And one day I was sitting at my desk in my office, and I was like, you know what? I've made a name for myself in politics. I could have stayed in politics till I was 65, retired, had this long, drawn out career in politics. A lot of people liked me. I did a lot of things in Bannock County that changed life there. And I was doing well for myself as a young, energized elected official. But I said, you know what? I can't just sit here. I'm not going to just sit here for another 20 years and just not do anything else with my life. So I went down the list of ideas and I was like, you know what? Out of all things, I choose this toilet seat idea. And I've never been in the restroom business. I've never done this ever before in my life. And I was like, you know what? No one has solved this problem. I think this might be a hit. So in 2015, I get a patent attorney and we go file for our first patent. So the first 3 years, we're going through the rejections from the United States Patent Office. And in 2018, they issue me my first patent. And Coach, when I tell you, man, one of the most exciting things that have ever happened in my life is when I open the package, it says, "You are an official inventor."
Yeah, baby. That's awesome.
So I've done a lot of things in my life that I could be proud of, but when I was like, do I know another Samoan inventor, or do I know another Polynesian? I don't know. Am I like, I just didn't know. Maybe I'm the only one, but I would never have dreamed of me ever being an inventor, right? So let me tell you about, so I went through the list, I chose the toilet seat idea, I got the patent, and then I tried out for the show Shark Tank. And so in 2018, I went to the Venetian Hotel. I pushed on a push cart a toilet bowl, my first prototype, inside the Venetian Hotel, inside hundreds of thousands of people at the CES, Consumer Electronics Show.
Yeah.
It was like the most, I thought it was going to be the most embarrassing thing of my life. I had it in my car. I was almost like going to psych myself out and not do it. I was like, you know what? I drove all this way from Idaho. I'm going to do it. So in the middle of the Venetian Hotel is me, 6'2", 300 pounds, pushing a toilet seat and a toilet bowl in front of everyone. But, I got the opposite reaction. Instead of him being embarrassed, I'm telling you, hundreds of people were flocking around me saying, what is that? What does that do? What is that? And because of that, and because of pitching to the producers on Shark Tank, I made it to the end. I'm out of 42,000 companies, I made it to the end. And I lied on my Shark Tank application. So on the first page of the Shark Tank application, it said, you cannot be an elected official running for office. And I was that year. Right. And they called me and said, Rob, you lied on your Shark Tank application. It's either you quit your job or you can come on the show. So I quit my job. I said, you know what? I thought at the time I was going to be this instant millionaire.
Right,
I
right,
said,
right.
you know what? I'm going to quit. Screw it. I come this far. I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to leave. And great. I was on the phone with the producers. We're talking about my set. We're talking about my pitch going on. And 2 weeks before the show, they called me and they said, Rob, sorry, we found a company that has revenue. We found the same as a restroom company. We're sorry. We're going to cut you from the show. Maybe next year. Oh my gosh, Coach. Coach, I had quit my job. I had quit my benefits. I had a family of 5. My full-time salary was gone. I had cut, everything was gone. And Shark Tank cut me. I had nothing. That was the biggest punch in the gut on this journey, the first on this journey. And for a couple of weeks there, I didn't know what to do. I was depressed. And this is where my wife came in. My wife came in and we met and we said, hey, it's time for you to go 100% with the company. Let's cash in the 401k. Let's get our savings together. And you're going full speed. Make this dream happen. Why not, right? And so in 2019, January 2019, I cashed in everything. And I've been going on this dream with Washie Toilet Seat, and it was the best thing I ever did. To believe in myself, to go in and cash in everything. The journey I've been on it will be a book one day because of the people I've met, the connections I've met. I mean, the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and things are going really well. Things are going really well for the company. But yeah. That's how I got into this toilet seat company, man.
Right, because really, instant millionaire means being able to overcome haters, naysayers, critics, and our own self-doubt, as well as the failure, embarrassment, and the struggle that instant turns into years, but you don't quit. What do you think about that, Rob? Is that true about you?
It's been years and people still ask, oh, Rob's still doing that?
Right.
It hasn't gone anywhere yet, but people will never know the amount of work, the amount of sacrifice. I've almost died because of this thing that I've put in. And it takes years and years and years of work to get this overnight millionaire deal, right?
Right.
And it really isn't. You never become an overnight millionaire. I've been doing this since I was 12 years old to hustle and trying to grind until I really figured out how I'm gonna become this millionaire. But yeah, man, the sacrifices, the friends and family that I found out that weren't really on my side, that were like doubting me, hating on me, and I had to overcome that. You know what? This isn't for them. This is this dream that I have, they couldn't see themselves doing. That's why they don't know what they're talking about, right? They couldn't see themselves taking this leap of faith or this risk, especially some of my close family. And it's okay, it's okay. They're just not at a point in their lives that they can do that. At first I was really irritated. I was really emotional about some of the things that happened with friends and family. But I took it as perspective. That emotional intelligence led me on to leave them behind, leave them as friends, but leave them behind in my business and keep moving on. And one day they're actually today, they're the people that say, hey, that's my cousin. Oh, hey, that's my friend. I knew him when he first started. But we're all gonna have people like that. So it's been a journey. It's definitely been a journey.
And so let's talk scope. Let's talk about scope of where you are now. So you were a one-person team back in 2018 with maybe a patent lawyer, right?
Yep.
It's just you and your wife, right?
Yep.
And then let's talk scope now. Like how big is your team? Let's talk about sales. What regions of the country are you servicing with your toilet seats? and don't, I think so many times we lack to empower and inspire people because we try to have what I call in Polynesia the false humility of trying to act ultra respectful and not boast about yourself. On this show, I need you to be audacious and just be real. Like, what's the money's looking like? How big is your team? And where are you guys servicing all these places? And name drop and do all that you want. Because I think because of our failure to really talk real talk about, hey man, I make $300 a minute to speak English. I need to learn English when I first came here from Tonga. That other kids are not, they start to wait. Because in terms of empowerment, I call empowerment in terms of what I coach is the granting of authority and permission to do, become, and achieve what you want in life, leadership, and business, to become more powerful and to take control of your life. Yeah. You need to switch that now into self-empowerment, not needing permission and authority from anyone else, but doing what you are a great example of to all of the people of Polynesia and anyone who wants to be successful, is you need to grant yourself permission, authority, permission and authority, and grant yourself the power to now go, you know what? My wife and I met, we're all in. Despite all that's going on, I think there needs to be more examples of that versus our kids waiting around going, do I do school? Do I do this? I need auntie and uncle and my parents to like it. Man, I told people I was leaving football and they were like, what? Are you crazy? Right? So in that sense, let's talk scope, please.
I got it. So I'm going to start in 2019.
Okay.
So when I was cut from the show, it was all over the newspaper, from Seattle to St. George to Tri-Cities, Washington, everywhere in between. Elected official quits job to go on toilet seat run on Shark Tank, right? It was
Say that again. What did it read?
It read, elected official quits job to go on toilet seat run on Shark Tank.
Right.
Gosh. People, and it was going all over the place, and people didn't know I was cut. The shame in that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's going everywhere. It's popping up in different cities, but it popped up in KSL in Utah.
Yeah.
And Squatty Potty, one of Shark Tank's top 5 products, the CEO of Squatty Potty saw it. And so he contacted me. He said, Rob, I'm the CEO of Squatty Potty. I want you to come down to St. George and visit with us for a couple of days. So I go down there. And they wine and dine me. They take me to their home. They show me their offices, golfing. It was a trip of a lifetime. And they said, after we met, they said, Rob, we need to take control of this company. We want in, but you can come down here and work for us, but we're going to take over 50% of the company.
Right.
And I said, you know what? Let me think about it. So on the drive home, I said, I got something. If
they want to partner with you, you got some juice. Yeah.
Screw this. I don't need them. I'm going to do this on my own.
Right.
And so that was the first, in 2019, that was the first time I was like, you know what? Met with the wife and said, let's do it. We're going to do this on our own. So through then, I co-partnered with one of my football buddies, Dane Simmons. And Dane has been an entrepreneur. He runs an orthopedic distribution center, and so we partnered right in 2019, and we went over and met with everyone. Everyone liked our prototypes, products. Ontario Airport and IE, SeaTac, Dallas Fort Worth, Circle K headquarters. We were like hitting it hard. Everybody wanted our product pre-COVID, and we only had prototypes pre-COVID. And then COVID came and smacked us in the face. Our manufacturer overseas shut down for 8 months. We couldn't get any product. We couldn't get any prototypes. They were losing interest from these huge accounts, $1 million accounts. And so we had to transition. We had to do other things to stay alive. So we barely made it out of COVID. Like, tell you the truth, Coach, I was really worried about us coming out of COVID, because we needed product. Everybody, and the interest was there was a lot of interest at first, and then it was dying. So the beginning of this year in March, we were able to pay for our molds. I got investment, raised over $500,000 for our company, and paid for our molds and our first product run. And so our 50 seats came in, and we had a hospital that took them. And once they came in, my partner and I, we did all the installing. Most disgusting, backbreaking work ever, us installing toilet seats. And so, I mean, the maintenance crews, the people that work there, or people who work for you, make sure you thank them, because it is disgusting work and they have to clean up your crap. But anyway, so we had to install these things, and there were issues. There were issues with our sensors in the seat. We're the first smart toilet seat for public restrooms. We connect to an app. There were issues, and so for the first 6 months of this year, we've been dealing with product issues and trying to have modifications to the product, go back and forth with our manufacturers, and it was from going from an inventor, now dealing with manufacturing and production, and now fixing that and switching that hat over to sales and marketing has been this year. So we only started selling August, right? We had our first 50 in the hospital, working great. Then we started hitting the road, hitting the streets in August. We are in stadiums, hospitals, airports, in Idaho and in Utah, college stadiums. We've gone out there, right, making a name for ourselves. And just this past week, a Fortune 100 company contacted us, and I can't give out too much details from that.
That's okay.
But the strategic partnerships are coming for us, because we never gave up. And these are the big namers, like everyone, this is a household name. And because we never gave up on this dream, it's coming. And so as far as sales go, we only have 300 seats in stock. We still can't get inventory. So we're close to 100 grand in sales, waiting on our inventory to come in from Long Beach. We had a container stuck there for 5 weeks just at the port. Nobody would open the container. So we're going through all these humps, right? But they see the vision. These big companies, and I'll just name some restroom companies: Kimberly-Clark, Georgia Pacific, all these Rubbermaid, even a Waxy, these janitorial distribution companies. We've been meeting with them and having some really good discussions about how to ramp, how to get distribution across the US, internationally. Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Brazil, and parts of Europe are now calling. So, I mean, we have just begun, my friend, and this has been going for like 5 years. We've just begun, and getting inventory has been the hardest part for us, and making these modifications. But there's a bright future for our company ahead. Very, very bright future.
Yeah, I've followed it little by little, and I tried to just set it up where I really do feel like, you're there and you're doing so much. I've talked to people around you, and they're just like, man, this thing's going to blow up. And I'm like, man, it looks like it's going to. And then now really getting a chance, even on a visual electronic platform like this, is to really see why, right? Because every vision and every building, facilities are huge in our football world, and that. You guys have Washie seats in these stadiums, but the people are the soul of any organization. I look forward to meeting your partner in the future, Dane Simmons. But I mean, the way it is that you are and your vibe, even on an electronic platform, right? That's why I love it, because it's visual. There's so much that can be said in how you articulate to really see a person and what their expressions are saying. I could see why this thing is going to blow up for you. In that, Rob, and I know you're just getting started, well, what's Rob Poleki's message to the world? What would that be?
You know what? To the world is it is not a message for me to send out now, but to our Polynesian world.
Mm-hmm.
The Polynesian community is one that I would love to send a message out to, is that, you know, a lot of times for us, we take the back seat and try to be humble. It was something that you hit on today. When someone says that you're good at something, you say, oh, nah, not me, I'm not good, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
That mentality in business and in life sometimes, but especially in this business, needs to go. We come from, I wrote this article on LinkedIn. We come from the DNA of innovation, the
Mm.
DNA of creators, of voyagers, right? Of the first entrepreneurs. I saw things, I researched things that in Tahiti, the wheel. I know that, you know, we don't have anything written down, but I believe that the wheel was invented there. And there's documents that say that. I believe like all the things that we made as voyagers were the first, but was never written down. And so we come from that DNA, especially our warriors, but especially warriors, but most crucial part is innovation, inventors and creators and leaders, that we should not be as humble in business, because, and that's how I made my way to the top of every organization that I've had a job at. It's because I knew that I could get my boss's job one day, and I worked my butt off to get there. So never be complacent, never be as humble. There's there's a time to be humble, but not all the time. And I see that, especially here in Utah, that we have some people who could grind and could lead, that could really lead organizations, but they're not doing it. They're not getting there, and they need help to get there. So that message of moving that cultural aspect aside, of being humble. And my parents always told me to be humble in football and life, but in business, I don't believe that to be true. In business, I believe that you should show off what you can do, and we can all lead companies and be successful.
Yeah, great
That's the
message.
message.
Yeah, great message, Rob. So welcome everybody that has just tuned in to the Coach V Show here on Island City, where the beach meets the streets, broadcast from Hollywood, California's Dash Radio Studios, and here on the Coach V Facebook Live. We are on with inventor and CEO of Washie, Rob Poleki, who's coming in from Utah, and we are just sharing his story. And we've gotten to the point of our show where he's just shared his message, a significant one, big time for the Polynesian people and for all people, that there is an audacity to success in you really maximizing your God-given potential, or what it is that you feel your purpose is. If you don't believe in God, you can believe in what you believe in, but unless you believe in you, and there's this confidence to that, I just tell you, in my experience, both negativity, whining, complaining, and blaming, and having this false humility, I've never seen it succeed on the football field, life, leadership, business, in the Fortune 1,501 companies I work with, and the 30 industries that I work in currently nationwide, in which I have no relevant experience or expertise. If you want to talk about, like, they hire me, though I have no relevant experience or expertise in those fields and industries, that I've just never seen this ultra humble and meek person that the Bible uses his word meek. I've never seen that person get what they deserve, because of the fact that either they're not audacious enough to articulate it, or have really the courage, either as a woman or a man, or cross-gender, bigender, whatever it is that you want to define that as, to say, this is what I want, and go freaking get it. Rob, is that true or not true?
I love it, man. You got to go get what's yours. If you want something in this life, you got to go get what's yours. And there's a lot of things I bet you in this life that you want. Go get it.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. And we'll come back to that. In that, what are some shout outs, Rob? Who are some people you'd like to shout out? You already mentioned your partner, Dane Simmons. Who else would you like to shout out?
Definitely my parents. My parents are the reason why we're here today. That grind, I learned from them, the hustle that I learned from them. Jane Simmons is my co-founder. Heidi Fafita, Steve Fafita's wife, she has
Yeah,
been on the
shout out
journey with us.
Heidi.
Yeah, she's been on the journey with us for a couple of years now, as one of our full-time employees. And then my wife and my kids have always been the reason, the why I do this. They've always been the reason, to make sure that my kids have something better than I ever had, or I could ever dream of. So yeah, that's that. That's it, man. My wife and my kids are good.
I like it. So now we've come to the Coach V show portion where we're going to put Mr. Rob Poleki on the Coach V hot seat. I'm going to say a phrase or a quote it is that I have in life, leadership, or business. And then Rob is going to tell us what's top of mind. Rob, deal or no deal? You in on that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, you talked about being the only. And I love this notion of being the only. Because for a time there, it was just like me and Steve Calfusi in terms of being Tongans in Division I football. Then Kalani jumped up from Southern Utah and went to Utah, right? Like those things. But you were the only. Talk about that whole feeling of you look around in these rooms, in these Senate chambers or these government chambers, and it's just you. And in your journey of self-discovery is what you alluded to that really sparked my interest. What did that feel like in terms of you mentioned some of it already and alluded to some of this aspect of raising your awareness. I call it self-discovery, but when you're the only one in the room that looks like you, or in a chamber, or in these discussions and these backroom meetings, what did that do for your self-discovery?
Yeah, Coach V, perspective is everything, my friend. Perspective is everything. So I didn't use this as my disadvantage. I used this as my advantage, right? I was the only brown guy in the room, the only minority in the room all the time, everywhere I went, even when I'm in startup pitching, when I'm doing startups here in Utah. It is only me and maybe one other guy that shows up, right? Only Polynesian there, but I definitely am the only Polynesian there. I use it to my advantage. There's not a 6'2", 300-pounder in the room.
Yes,
right?
sir.
They know
yes,
my
sir.
name. They know Rob. Everyone knows Rob by the time they leave. But all these other people, I forget their names. I don't know. They look alike. Some white people look alike. I forget who's who, but they know me by the time I leave, right?
Sir.
I use football to my advantage because everybody in that room, every American loves football. So when we're in Idaho, who did you play for? I use this to my advantage to network, to gain more influence, followers, to gain more people involved in my business. It is used to my advantage. So, but at first, right, I was, being a young elected official, I was scared. I was like, ooh, I don't see anybody like me. Then I thought, you know what? I'm going to use this to my advantage. I'm going to use this to my advantage so I can gain the skills that I needed. So in the elected world, and even in the startup ecosystem here, there's only one big Polynesian dude, and that's Rob. And everybody knows the toilet seat guy. I go to the Silicon Slopes, the big summit, every 10 steps. You're the toilet seat guy. You're the walking guy. Right. Because I'm the only 300-pound Samoan guy over there. Yeah. So yeah, I use it to my advantage.
No, that's awesome. I love that. Use that, being the only, use that to my advantage. Positive vibes is my next phrase. How is it that Rob Poleki has such positive vibes?
I learned it from my mom. My mom is the center of attention. She loves going places and being the center of attention, making people happy. That's Polynesians, right? Welcoming people, always being positive, the positive outlook. Since I came from here, I came from the gutter, it's only one way up. I know what the gutter feels like. I could go back to the gutter today, right? I could go back to and be like, this is fine. I'm gonna make my way back up. So I'm not afraid of that. I'm not
Yeah.
afraid of it, but being positive, I mean, it's just a part of my DNA, my personality. I got it from my mom. My mom is like the highlight of the show, and I always just wanted to be like her.
Yeah. Right, Rob. I tell people often, because I get that question a lot. And I tell people, if you have been where I have been and seen what I have seen in my childhood, you would be positive too. But when I tell people, right, come on, when you talk about the gutter, I relate to that. And that's why I'm so positive every single day. And you know what I mean? And I just didn't leave football, right? I got fired. And then I was given a position as DFO just because they liked me as a person, right? And then I figured out, you know what? I'm going to try something else, right? And so all of that, I have been through so much in terms of feeling public humiliation, either from a child or in my professional life. The first thing that I used to pay my bills, which was my dream job, fired me. So today that I get to do what I want via Zoom, in fact, where I don't even have to get on a plane no more. You would be positive if you've seen what I've been through too. But then the case that you look all around us, man, how many Rob Polekis and Viliami Tuivais can you find in China or Korea or the Middle East, Africa, South America, maybe? Not that many. But in the United States of America, all of us can wake up and be do and become what we want in life, leadership, and business. I'm not saying the starting line's the same, Rob, right? I'm not saying the starting line, and I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's going to be equal. But if you want it, I love it. Rob says it. Go get it. Go get it, right? And then I love that aspect that you said one day. I love that phrase. Can you expand on that for the audience? Like, you know, one day I'm going to be this. I call that why not me. I've always told myself in America that why not me? I can do, become, and achieve whatever it is that I want. Why not me? If that person can do it. I never started with the why. I always started with the who I believe in and who I am, and the who that deserves what it is I'm going to do for all of us, right? And when you say one day, I kind of associate it to my saying of why not me? Your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, the one day, everybody has that one day. Everybody has that one day I'll do this. One day I'll go on that diet. One day I'll be rich. One day I'll win the lottery. I use that one day, but it means more to me one day because of where I've come from, right? So one day is, okay, when I'm driving around looking at nice homes and I don't live in the best home, one day I'm going to get that home. And then one day comes true, right? And then the next thing, the one day I'm going to become an inventor. That for 3 years of rejection from the USPTO, the one day came true, right? So the one day for me is actual like action steps to get to the one day, right?
Oh yeah.
It's action steps to get to that one dream. The one dream, you know, it started out with trying to please my parents at first. One day I'll be a college graduate. Did I really want to be a college graduate? Maybe, I don't know. But I did it for my parents. One day I'll have a good job. That was for my parents too, right? One day now, like one day I'm going to be an entrepreneur. That's me. I love being an entrepreneur. One day I'm going to own multiple companies, be a multi-millionaire. One day that's for me. So the one day is getting that goal in place. I know it's down the line, and I'm going to take the actions to get there.
No, awesome answers, awesome response here on the Coach V Hot Seat. Rob, thank you so much for coming on the show. That is our 58 minutes, but I didn't want to just stop with anything I would say. We got to give Rob Poleki a final. What are your final words on just being on the show? Any words in particular that you want to leave off for the audience? You have the final word on our call.
Coach V, you know what? One thing that I didn't say was my condolences to you and your family with Polynesian. Paul, I listened to the podcast, and I've been following his journey on Instagram. He is an icon. He is a role model. I've never met him in person. Somebody that we should all go and see his story and actually listen to your podcast. That podcast meant so much to me. Right. So my condolences to you and the family. But if we can all as adults be something like Paul, dream, right? Paul was a dreamer. I'm a dreamer, man. I'm gonna make sure that everything that he did wasn't in vain. That Polynesian, yeah, guys like us, make sure that we hold up to who we are and the expectations that we can be somebody someday. So yeah, that's my final word, Coach.
Yeah, thank you so much for those condolences, and shout out to Big Paul's family and everyone, Brother Eddie, everybody that's part of Island City Media Group, which Paul was a high influence on that and everything it is that this station does. And really, I really appreciate you too, Brother Rob, that when I wake up in the morning, whether you're writing about your son getting, your daughter being bullied at school, and we gain perspective from that as a person who has a seventh grader here in California, and just your entrepreneurial insights, your intellect, articulation of what it is and how we think, how we feel. And like you said, being an inventor in one day, I mean, there's a lot of inventors that are thinkers and feelers, but they never become inventors because they're not doers. Right, Rob?
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to get you on the show, partly because you're on your journey and you're almost there. And when you get there, what there's next, I can't wait to see. But I'm really so excited to see you maximize. Thank you for coming on the show. And thank you for everybody out there that tunes in weekly here to the Coach V Show. Another shout out to my big bro, Paul Tuibai, and his brother and his family and the wife and the kids that are back in Aussie land in Australia. There's so much that Big Paul, I mean, I never met the kind of Hollywood person that I met than having great relationships. And that one relationship for me was Big Paul, where I met Bone Thugs and Harmony. I could just go down the list, Boys II Men, like all these guys through the radio station Q, and all these guys are just stars, right? And they come up to me just because I'm associated to them and just be like, "What's up, B? Man, I saw your podcast, or I saw your show." So Rob, you're right on the dot there. And thank you, Rob, for your example, not just for us Polynesians, because I don't see you as that. I see you as an audacious figure that's actually doing what you said you were going to do for every entrepreneur that's out there, or the people that are waiting in a job and saying, tomorrow, tomorrow. You're such an amazing example of that. And then you happen to be Polynesian, and even though you're Samoan and I'm Tongan, we are related because you're successful. Any successful Polynesian that's out there, I'm related to, whether you want to or not. I'm going to claim you. If you're not successful, we could be related, but I ain't claiming you. Go out there and impact your community. You know I love you all. But in that, thank you so much to everybody for tuning in to the Coach B Show. And it's not just for the sake of success that Rob and I are on platforms like this, but really for the sake of being your best. In doing so, you realize the best of your abilities, and that everything that you dream and work for can be achieved. This is how Uso Rob and your boy Coach V lives, all about faith and family, grateful for God's amazing grace. Thank you to the Island City Media Group and the Dash Radio platform for allowing this Tongan brother to have a show on your platform. And until next Mana Motivation, one love and mad respect from your boy Coach V and brother Rob Poleki. Peace.